Folks, we've been having some serious technical problems. We've shut off our audio stream and we've restarted in hopes that that will correct the problem. So we're going to start again from the beginning, minus opening music, because that would be too much of a hassle to try to get that set up again. You can just wait till the end of the show to hear the exciting closing music. We are the Non-Prophets. This show is... Hi, Mary. This show is brought to you by the Atheist Community of Austin. I'm Jeff D. The co-hosts are Mary McManamee.
Hello.
Vic Farrow.
Hello.
And Russell Glasser is our producer.
My fault.
Sorry, we're not mad at you, Russell. We'll
beat you later.
August 31, 2002. Atheist Community of Austin is a non-profit educational organization promoting positive atheism and the separation of state and church. I'm going to skip a bunch of crap. We'll skip these stupid announcements. We'll go straight into the news. Try to get caught up a bit.
Now, they're not stupid. We just don't have time.
I'm a little frustrated right now, as you can possibly imagine.
Okay.
Why don't we go back to your first story?
Okay, let's talk about Iran.
Yeah, please.
Okay. Well, as we were just discussing...
And this time through, I might actually have something intelligent to say about it.
Okay. Yay!
Okay, I've just heard that we are normal again.
We're back.
As long as our producer doesn't touch any more controls, we'll probably actually continue in this vein.
We'll be fine.
Did you touch it?
What I would like you to do, Russell, please, is check what time it is, and let's do a full show from here, and then let's make sure... Oh, we can't, though, because it's going to cut us... Wait, we're going to record it, right? We're recording?
We are recording.
So we will send...
recording straight from my computer's broadcast.
So we're going to send Reggie this show, this version, starting now, right?
Okay.
Yes.
And let him run that in his rotation for the rest of the week.
So are you going to start over from the very beginning?
We just did.
Yeah, we're there.
We're going again.
Okay.
Right? Mary, news, please.
Okay.
Please, before anything else happens.
I want to do the Alvin Simon Theodore theme.
No. Let's not talk about that.
Okay.
That didn't happen.
Okay.
We just erased that piece of history. Say what?
Are you sure we shouldn't just start with the announcement?
We just did.
We did. Okay, here we
You're
go.
not paying attention.
Out of Tehran, Iran, President Mohammad Khatami boldly challenged the religious hardliners to go where nobody else has gone before, blocking his efforts to make Iran more democratic. Vowing yesterday to present a bill to Parliament that would give him more power. Khatami's public initiative is a sharp change from the behind-the-scenes lobbying he has used to push his reform program, and it risks a rebuke from his unelected opponents who wield most of the power in Iran. Quote, the best, most secure, and legal option for this country is Islamic democracy, where both religion and freedoms are respected, unquote, Khatami told a packed news conference in Tehran.
Both. Because as soon as you get fundamentalists, then religion equals no freedoms. Religion equals clamping down on people's freedoms and only letting them do just those things that religion says is okay. So as soon as you mix in, I mean,
as interpreted by the higher-ups in the religion.
If you could somehow mix in extraordinarily liberal religion and politics, it might not do that much damage. Right? Because extremely liberal religious people can say, those folks over there believe a different thing. They're not bad people, and there's nothing terribly wrong with what they're doing. At least we all care, and we're all trying to make a place a better world.
And they have a right to believe what they want to believe.
Yeah, all that nonsense. If you've got liberal religion, but there's no... As soon as you have religious freedom, you can't stop people from becoming fundamentalists. They become fundamentalists, they grab the reins of power, and suddenly you're legislating their morality.
Right.
They're completely incompatible.
Right, and we're not really sure
Aren't they watching what's happening in the United States right now?
I guess not.
What does this guy think he's doing?
I don't know. He's talking about Islamic democracy, and I'm not really sure what they mean by that. But, okay, since being elected in 1997, Khatami has seen his power eroded with the arrests of pro-reform activists and closures of liberal newspapers. But he was re-elected last year. His promises to bring civil freedoms to Iran have been sabotaged by hardliners who control unelected institutions such as the judiciary and are supported by Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, the appointed religious figure who outranks the elected president.
Right, not the old Khomeini. This is the new Khamenei.
Yes.
Outranks the president.
Outranks the president.
Well, there's another part of your problem.
Right. Yeah. So again, he's trying to. It sounds like, and again, we were talking earlier about how we're really.
You can have democracy as long as you don't do anything that is against Allah.
Right. Right, and it sounds like maybe that's what they mean, but I'm curious to know...
Anyone can vote as long as they are not a woman or a Jew.
Yeah, or an atheist.
If they're atheists, they're dead. That will keep them from voting.
No question. But I don't know. See, I don't know that the president is really that hardline. I mean, he sounds like he's trying to institute a lot of reforms.
Yeah, but, there's intentionally being hardline, and then there's just being an idiot.
Yeah.
There's asking for stuff that is going to lead to trouble. And I think that's where we're at with this guy.
Well, maybe.
But I don't know. I mean, I shouldn't. I'm always hesitant to express very strong an opinion on stuff I know nothing about.
Right.
And like this.
Yeah, and I don't either. And I mean, that's one of the reasons, I mean, the main reason I brought this story is because I think it's interesting, one, but then two, just to get some dialogue going about it, because, Vic, tell us again your story about the atheists, or the Iranians you ran into.
At a place here in Austin, local bar, and we had a banner up. And these two fellows who came into the bar saw the banner, went over to talk to us. They were from Iran. And the question came up, if you're an atheist in Iran, what happens? And they just said, play out, you get killed. I moved away from it. You just get killed. Outright.
You get killed.
If you go out there and say, look, I'm an atheist, I don't believe in your God, well, you're one of those infidels that the Quran teaches to kill.
Wow.
Because you can't have infidels corrupting other people's minds. And that's basically the mentality behind it.
And it makes me wonder why President Mohammed Khatami is doing this right now. Does he take the stance that atheists aren't so bad, we need to have a democracy, or is he saying that everybody but atheists is okay?
We don't know, but if we want to just speculate, we can do that.
Yeah.
All right, here's my wild speculation. My wild speculation is he is saying Islamic democracy in a entirely calculated attempt to keep the religious factions in his country from being able to say, you are against Allah, right? He's got to put the word Islamic in there so that it sounds like they're still in charge, right?
Yeah.
And he may actually, now whether he actually believes that or not, I don't know. But, in the United States, you don't run for public office and make a big deal about being an atheist.
But you sure do about being a Christian. It's okay to
but that's because the Christians control our country the way the Muslims control
As
Iraq.
you were saying earlier, hence we have a Christian democracy in this country.
Well,
only we don't call it that.
There are people who would be happy to call it that, and it's extremely creepy.
Yeah.
All right. Let's do a different news story now.
Okay.
I know you got some more. No, keep them. You're going to do them, but let's move on to something else because
we've
got several news stories that we've already heard because we had to restart the show.
But let me just do a quick plug. Let me just do a quick plug for The Economist.
All right.
Head to theeconomist.com and check out the headlines: "Behold the Rapture" and "For Whom the Liberty Bell Tolls." Okay. Those are some terrific articles, and hopefully we'll have time to get back to them again.
Oh, yeah, no, you can do them as your very next ones. But
okay.
Let's have, Vic.
We'll break it up. Okay.
Vic?
Oh, okay. What do you want, goofy or serious?
Goofy.
Okay. We'll start out with,
please.
We'll start out with the goofiest one. I have two really goofy ones. This one's really, really goofy.
Yeah.
In Bangalore, I have no idea where Bangalore is at. Anyway.
That would be somewhere in India.
Yeah, I thought so. This is a story of a male adult monkey that has metamorphosized as God Hanuman.
What?
No joke. A monkey sitting atop the statue of God Hanuman for the past 22 days or more is attracting streams of people to this unbelievable happening. It's all been happening. It is all happening at, oh boy, this is one hell of a word. Thimmeganapalli. I hope that's even close.
Yeah, you're going to have a fun time reading this story because I found this one myself. And it's written by a guy from India with a marginal grasp of English. So go ahead.
A monkey just came inside the altar and sanctum and surprised the priest and other lookers. They bet the monkey. It says there they bet the monkey with the stick. It doesn't say
bet him.
They bet him with a stick, and many have thrown stones. And in the melee, the monkey bore all this and came out with a new avatar as Monkey God.
Tell me this is not like the Monkey Man story.
What?
Is this like the Monkey Man that was supposed to be?
No, this is different. They have an actual monkey.
This monkey has climbed up on this statue in this church.
And they tried to drive it away.
And they tried to drive it away.
It wouldn't go, so they decided it's God. And you know, I think that is a characteristic that a lot of religions have in common, right? You try to make them go away, and when they won't, you say, fine, you're God.
The efforts of the villagers to chase the monkey away has yielded no results. The monkey doesn't eat anything, and not even a delicious banana.
Yeah, you know, I've seen the picture. I've seen this picture.
No.
Yeah.
You know what that looks like to me? That looks like a dead stuffed monkey.
Yeah, it could be anything.
That's a bad printout. But in the actual story, it looks to me like a dead stuffed monkey, which would explain why it doesn't eat anything.
Yeah.
This is the reincarnation of God. The monkey is no ordinary monkey. It is come
on, Vic. You know, monkey God, actual monkey. Do the math.
Oh. Monkey.
Of course it's a God.
I came in the morning and performed puja. I don't know what puja is.
I wish they translated that word.
Monkey. Maybe they're spanking the monkey.
Puja with the monkey.
Puja the monkey. All right. Thousands of people are coming across to see this wonder.
Did you puja?
The people of village. This is for good. For the first 5 days, we tried to chase the monkey away from the temple, but it did not budge an inch. Then the elders decided that this is God, and we were performing puja.
They said that again.
Yeah. Even now, the monkey is sitting atop the statue like a
all right. Homework assignment for people in the chat room. Somebody please find out what the hell puja means. Would you spell that, please?
Puja. P-O-O-J-A.
Please find out what that means before we go insane.
Obviously
Thank you.
Some Hindu ritual.
I know, but I mean, it could be,
maybe
who knows?
some kind of anointing.
You can ritualize just about anything. I want to know specifically.
Maybe that's why they had so much focus in that movie Signs on India.
Because
all those little puja symbols.
All this puja going on.
There's a whole lot of puja going on in India. Okay. That's goofy story number one. Do you want to go on with something?
Yeah, let me do one.
Okay.
Rather more serious. Now
you spoil our fun.
In the last 2 weeks, first we reported on the Summum cult in Utah, trying to get their monument set up next to the Ten Commandments monument. And then last week we reported that and they won that case, and that city is fighting it because they don't want the monument to the Summum cult going up on their important public land. And then last week we reported that the same lawyer who represented them, Brian Barnard, he has gone on to other cities and said, "Look, take down your monuments," right? And well, he won. To make a long story short.
But there was
I am so off my stride. I don't know what the hell I'm doing.
Last week there was a moment there where the other city was going to allow the Suman...
he went there. First he goes, okay, you heard the judge. You got to let us put up some monuments in your cities.
Some monuments.
And, that's the name.
Like some more monuments.
Pooja. And the first city said, sure, fine, go ahead and put up your monument. And then he got back to him and said, no, you got to take yours down. He didn't expect them to cave.
Right.
But now they're caved.
Yeah, well, they didn't want to go into the cost of a legal battle.
Yeah.
From the fine metropolis of Toole, Utah. Rather than fight it out in court, the city has agreed to move the Ten Commandments monument from City Hall property.
Yay!
Personally, I'm not interested in lining the pockets of a civil rights attorney who does not give a squat about Toole, said Mayor Charlie Roberts. The stone monument will be gone by noon Monday. In a letter Friday to Utah Legal Clinic attorney Brian Barnard, Roberts said the reason he and the city council decided to honor a request from Barnard's anonymous client for removal of the monument was monetary. Quote, passionate views can often result in bitter, extended, and expensive litigation. I do not believe the taxpayers are best served at this time by engaging in protracted litigation and its exorbitant attendant costs. At one time, there were 9 Ten Commandments monuments on government property in Utah. Salt Lake County avoided a court battle by removing a monument from its 400 South location in Salt Lake City. Ogden City is still in the appeals process, not to keep its monument standing, but rather to prevent another religious group from putting one up in the same area. Barnard said he is talking with Murray and Roy cities to have them follow suit behind Toole and Salt Lake County. Okay, so, now we were really questioning this guy's motives last week, right? Because he comes in first saying, you heard the man, let us put up our summum monuments, and they caved, and then he said, no, what I meant to say was, you have to take yours down. But they are taking them down, so I guess it all worked out for the best.
But they're not all taking them down.
Well, I know, but the next city did.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Right. And the next one that comes up will end up having to take theirs down as well. Pretty soon, eventually, the Texas one here will have to come down.
I hope so.
Mary, would you please do another story?
Sure. Actually, I've got a related story.
Have you?
You know Michael Newdow, right?
Not personally.
The California atheist who sued to remove Under God from the Pledge of Allegiance.
Yeah.
Well, he now wants to kick the House and Senate chaplains out of Congress. He, just to refresh everybody's memory, is a lawyer and emergency room doctor, and he filed a suit in federal district court in Washington contending that it is unconstitutional for taxpayer-funded chaplains to pray in Congress and minister to lawmakers. He wants the court to prohibit the House and Senate from employing spiritual chaplains who are paid by Congress to lead prayers, council members, and perform other religious tasks.
Right.
Chaplains make as much as, I can't believe this, $147,000 per year.
That's just freaking nuts.
It is.
Right.
And it's not about the money. I heard him interviewed yesterday on NPR on the way home from work, and he said he's not suing about the money, about how much they make.
Yeah.
He said the reason he's suing is because, in his view, if they want to go and pray in church, they can walk down the street and go pray.
Right.
You know, the members of Congress have every right to do that, and they can, freely. But to allow chaplains to be present in Congress, what does that say to atheists, is his point. And what does that say to other non-believers? And what does that say to people of other faiths?
What it says to other faiths is this is a government of a bunch of Christians who are looking out, who are tolerating your presence as long as you don't become a disruption.
Right.
But there's an easy way out, which I will offer to them right now. Folks in Washington, if you're listening, I'll take half that. I'll take $70,000 a year to be an atheist chaplain to Congress.
All right,
right?
there you go.
Bring me on staff. Now you've got our point of view represented. I'm sure Mr. Newdow would be happy to step down. Okay. How's that?
Half the money.
I offer that freely. Will be a
twice the wisdom at half the cost.
it'll be real difficult for me to move out to Washington and change my way of life and all that stuff. But I think with that kind of income, I'd be.
Oh, in Washington D.C., you need more than that.
The Congress ain't there all the time.
Fine, I'll live in Maryland somewhere and commute.
There you go.
We can work something out.
They got subways.
But hey, you want to shut Mr. Newdow down? You go right ahead and bring me in as an atheist chaplain. I'd be happy to talk to those guys in Congress. Okay.
Yep.
Problem solved. Let's move on.
Do you want me to give you a printout of something on Puja?
Is our chat room people not coming through on Puja?
They are coming through, but all they're doing is giving me web pages.
Oh, that doesn't help. Nobody can explain it? Sure, yeah, hand us something.
Okay.
Make it short, though, will you? Do you want to do another? Or go ahead. Go ahead and do another.
This is another one. This is out of the Washington Post also.
Yeah.
With President Bush's faith-based legislation facing an uncertain fate, the White House is planning an aggressive effort to implement parts of the program this fall, even if Congress does not approve. One of Bush's top campaign promises was to help religious organizations compete for federal money to run charitable programs.
This is a big stinking lie because religious organizations have been getting money all along.
Yeah. And
what that promise amounts to.
They're tax-free. How much more money do they want?
But on top of that, they've been able to get federal funds for a long time. What this promise amounts to is he's going to open up the floodgates and just drain our nation's financial veins into churches.
Yep. It's horrendous. The House passed such a bill last year, but this fall's crowded legislative calendar makes passage of a Senate version problematic. So, the White House Office of Faith-Based and Community Initiatives is pursuing a new agenda that does not depend on the consent of Congress, starting with the development of proposals to change a host of federal regulations to lower the barriers encountered by religious groups in dealing with the federal government.
What are these regulations that they can change without talking to Congress?
Well, let's see. Basically, let me skip a little bit further down into the story because I think it gets into more of the nitty-gritty about that. Bush's longtime goal of overhauling regulations affecting the federal funding of religious organizations had been moved to the administration's back burner because of personnel changes at the faith-based office, the low priority the initiative has had with some of Bush's senior aides, and the government-wide focus on responding to September 11th. But officials say they now hope to issue proposals for new regulations by the end of the year. Let's see, but that still doesn't really get to the specifics. Here we go. Beginning in Atlanta on October 10th, so this is coming up, folks, the administration plans to hold at least 5 sessions of a White House conference on the faith-based and community initiatives, each paid for by one of the 5 departments that includes a faith-based office. This includes education, justice, labor, health and human services, and housing and urban development. The White House has a goal of attracting at least 1,000 organizations to each of the gatherings, which are scheduled between now and March, when many organizations are applying for grants. At the same time, the administration plans to lobby hard for the Senate to pass its faith-based bill, sponsored by a Democrat who also ran for vice president, Senator Lieberman, and who is a Republican.
Voted for this moron to be
To think I was excited when he was appointed.
Yeah, I was too.
No,
nice.
I had not realized
Yeah,
what a horrible, twisted thing is religion.
Yeah.
Okay.
The bill, called the CARE Act, also aims to promote charitable giving through tax incentives. Oh, and get this, I didn't realize this. It has 9 Democratic co-sponsors, including Senator Hillary Rodham Clinton, and has been endorsed by Senate Majority Leader Thomas Daschle.
Well, you know, it's one of those things like the big tax dollar giveaway that Shrub engaged in first thing in office, right? I mean, you can't lose supporting giving a bunch of money away to things that people agree with, you know. And obviously, when it's them, they're going to agree with it, and it's when it's their churches, and our country is still dominated by people who are churchgoers. It's hard to not support a thing like that politically. But it's a violation of the Constitution, you know. They're supposed to care about that stuff.
I know.
And they don't.
No,
they care about
or they don't see it that way. They just see it as one issue. They see it as just having faith-based programs, and they don't extend it to the Constitution, which is even worse. You know, they just see it probably like Lieberman. I don't know for sure what his thoughts are, but I have a feeling he just considers it an innocuous way to just find money for programs that need it, like homeless shelters that are run by Christian organizations. You know, I mean, there are other ways
to get the money. If people want homeless shelters, they can give money to those organizations, and that money will not be taxed. Problem solved.
Right.
Not only that, you can deduct it off your taxes for giving it to them.
Right.
And then the problem that the homeless people are then subjected to proselytizing isn't a problem, because the only money that's going to that effort is money that was voluntarily given.
Yeah.
But if a single penny of my money goes into the pocket of some nitwit Christian who is going to use his soup kitchen or whatever to try to turn more people into Christians, that is a violation of my rights.
Yes, absolutely. And that's the thing, is we're not going to know where our money's going.
Well, some of those things are being exposed. Last week we talked about the abstinence programs, right? The religiously based sexual abstinence programs, and those things. I mean, now. What happens is they set up these schemes. The money gets drained from the government into religious coffers for a while, and then they get caught, and then it gets shut down. You know, it was still worth their while because
they got some money.
They got a bunch of money out of it. Vic, why don't you do some stories?
Okay, back to goofy stuff, because I feel like it. This was from a website called The Age. I don't know exactly where that's at. But don't know a lot of things, do I? Denominational niceties notwithstanding, pretty much all Christian faiths have a thing about sex. It's a fairly icky thing. Sex for pleasure is frowned upon. Provocative sex is born... Procreative sex is born with a kind of lie back and think like England stoicism, and abstinence is regarded as a virtue. As researchers and historians such as the late Professor Norman Cohen have shown, there frequently existed, alongside the mainstream churches, variant Christian beliefs that held that promiscuous sex was not merely harmless, but positively necessary if salvation was to be attained. The Carpocratians held that human laws were in fundamental opposition to God's law, which was, above all, perfectly egalitarian. Men and women were created equal, so laws that introduced inequality, such as slavery or spousal bondage, should be ignored. Moreover, surmises Cohen, God intended men and women to mate as freely as the animals still do. Needless to say, the Carpocratians were ruthlessly persecuted, but their ideology refused to die. Neither did it restrict itself to Christianity. It cropped up amongst Sufi Muslim sects in the 12th century, then very widely among Christian mystics in the Middle Ages.
What's the funny part?
Read the headline.
I'm just curious.
Well, the headline being, you have no sense of humor. Sit back and be quiet.
Okay, so these are Christians that thought sex was a good thing.
While the specific dogmas differ from group to group, the core belief remains the same. Typically, male and female believers undertook a grueling novice stage, living in extreme poverty. Then they were then held to have made direct contact with the divine spirit, which meant that they could become sinless. More, because the divine was inside them, they were actually like God, incapable of sinning.
Like the monkey.
Yeah. Every impulse was experienced as divine command. Now they could surround themselves with worldly possessions. They could lie or steal or fornicate without qualms of conscience. This led to widespread promiscuity of principle. In medieval Europe, these shag-happy communities were known by names such as the Brethren of the Free Spirit and the Amorians.
Hey.
They were particularly and extended targets of the Inquisition, but significantly they were not burnt in the hundreds simply because they believed in putting out for the Lord. Their crime was not so much sexual as theological, and hence very political. The Free Spirit movements were mystics. They believed that it was possible to experience God directly without intercession of clerics, saints, and churches. And then they were perceived as a challenge to the authority of the religious hierarchy, and a piss-poor source of revenue. Neither Inquisition nor flames, however, could squelch the desire to shed undies for Jehovah. In America in the mid-19th century, a dissident Wesleyan preacher called John Knowes came to believe that monogamy was the principal cause of prostitution, masturbation, and licentiousness in general. That was funny. Come on, Jeff.
Monogamy?
Monogamy was the principal cause of prostitution.
So he wants to have polygamy so there won't be licentiousness?
Knowes was a rich man, took his large followers of devotees to Oneida in New York State, there to establish a free-loving, pious Arcadia. In his community, marriage was forbidden, and everyone was required to shag everyone else.
Not even polygamy. It's just...
Even the really ugly ones? Even the really ugly ones. You had to shag everybody.
Okay. So
this they did with gusto.
It's a big orgy cult.
Yeah, it's an orgy cult. They did with gusto.
What happened to them?
But with rhythmic contraceptive planning, so rigorous that only 31 babies were born to 200 participants in 20 years.
Wow.
After Knowles' death, by the way, his devotees, perhaps a little worn out from all the holy rumpy-pumpy, gave up boinking and turned to a rather more profitable pastime, making cutlery.
Is that the Oneida?
The Oneida knives.
Oh, really? Oh, wow.
Okay. All these groups, of course, have never really had a chance of surviving the wrath of the establishment, but it's interesting to dwell on what the world would have been like today if they had triumphed and had major influence.
No kidding.
One thing is for sure, is that a lot of recent headlines would have been very different.
Yeah.
Quote, Bishop admits sex scandal. I haven't scored in weeks.
Yeah, the headline was, if Holy Rumpy Pumpy had taken another route.
Yeah.
I like that.
So, that was just funny, because, you get a lot of this, sexual purity crap and abstinence-only crap.
Yeah.
Not all Christians used to think like that.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, well, that's the thing. I mean, the Bible is nothing if not the big book of multiple choice.
Yes.
And so any kind of lifestyle you can possibly imagine could be justified by picking and choosing just the right passages from that. You know, I mean.
Hey, where did they get the inflatable church?
Do you want me to do that story?
Yeah.
You would like.
I wasn't picking it. No, Victor's
Vic
going to
got
do
it.
it. Why don't you do that?
Okay, the inflatable church.
Yeah, please.
The title of it is The Lord's Heir in Church. Yeah. Couples could soon be
I thought the heir was human.
But to heir up a church is divine.
Yeah. Oh.
Couples could soon be tying the knot in an inflatable church.
Whoa.
An air-filled building 47 feet from the ground, from ground to steeple, is the brainchild of inventor Mike Gilt.
It's like a moonwalk.
It's an elaborate, large moonwalk. That's what it is.
The moonwalk being one of those big inflatable things that happen in Denmark.
Yeah. Okay. Inside it has a blow-up organ, an altar, a pulpit, pews, candles, and a gold cross. The 47-long by 25-wide church has plastic stained glass windows. At the door, it's even flanked with air-filled angels.
Hey, best kind.
Dad of two, Mike, 36, paid by a firm of bouncy castle makers £15,000 to create it, and ahead of moves to change the law of marriage later. Apparently, there's some law change in where you can get married at.
Right. In England, the law currently states that the venue where you're going to get married at has to be licensed.
Oh.
Right.
And there is a movement to change that, so it's the person doing the ceremony that has to be licensed.
Right.
Yeah.
And so this guy wants to go to business, professionally marrying people, in his big inflatable church that he can set up anywhere because the venue isn't important anymore.
Yeah.
Right. And it is enormous. There's pictures of it here in the story, which you folks won't get to see, but it's in the Sun newspaper online. Mike of Southampton hopes to transport his portable church around Britain and charge £500 to £2,000 to marry people. He said, "We'll take the church to the bride rather than the other way around. And it can be set up anywhere, like a garden or a beach." The Church of England spokesman said the inflatable church could only be used in civic ceremonies. He added, "A church is its people. You can't have inflatable people." Oh, yes, you can!
You can, but sadly, the Church of England isn't going that route because the Church of England is dwindling like crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, this is the church whose archbishop has come out and said, "Fine, we give atheism won in England. Nobody cares about their immortal soul over here anymore." Right? I mean, they're nearly out of business.
It's amazing. I wonder
they desperately need to fill their pews with people, inflatable or not.
Exactly.
You know, we've always known that churches were full of hot air, and now
I'm saying you should.
Now there's a perfect example.
Jerry Falwell could get him one of those inflatable churches, and they wouldn't even have to send him the fan
to blow it up. He can just start talking.
Start talking, and poof, the church pops up.
Yikes.
And with all that hot air, it might even float.
Yeah, really.
All right. Have I gotten stuck with all the serious news stories today?
I think you did.
So.
Here we go. Maybe that's why I'm having trouble. Okay, here's a cool news story. This is from the New Scientist magazine. A self-organizing electronic circuit has stunned engineers by turning itself into a radio receiver.
Wow.
This accidental reinvention of the radio followed an experiment to see if an automated design process that uses an evolutionary computer program could be used to breed an electronic circuit called an oscillator. An oscillator produces a repetitive electronic signal, usually in the form of a sine wave. Paul Lazell and John Bird at the University of Sussex in Brighton applied the program to a simple arrangement of transistors and found that an oscillating input did indeed evolve. But when they looked more closely, they found that, despite producing an oscillating signal, the circuit itself was not actually an oscillator. Instead, it was behaving more like a radio receiver, picking up a signal from a nearby computer and delivering it as output. In essence, the evolving circuit had cheated, relaying oscillations generated elsewhere rather than generating its own. Lazell and Bird were using the software to control the connections between 10 transistors plugged into a circuit board that was fitted with programmable switches. The switches made it possible to connect the transistors differently. Treating each switch as analogous to a gene allowed new circuits to evolve. Those that oscillated best were allowed to survive to a next generation. These fittest candidates were then mated by mixing their genes together or mutated by making random changes to them. After several thousand generations, you end up with a clear winner, says Lazel. But precisely why the winner was a radio still mystifies them.
Incredible.
To pick up a radio signal, you need other elements such as an antenna. After exhaustive testing, they found that a long track in the circuit board had functioned as the antenna. But how the circuit figured out that this would work is not known.
Wow.
So it evolved a parasite.
Quote, there's probably one sudden key mutation that enabled radio frequencies to be picked up, says Bird.
Wow.
So that's very interesting. Now, there have been experiments in evolving circuitry before.
Right.
And I forget the specific example, but there's one where they got this gizmo that they simply, at least at the time I read the article, the guys doing the research could not figure out how it was able to do the thing that it was doing. Right.
It had turned into a switch, didn't it?
I forget the details. That might have been it.
Switch.
That might have been it. Now, this is not to say that, like, radio is this emergent property of nature like that. Like, we could expect to see radio receivers evolving on their own. The only reason they evolved a radio receiver is the researchers were acting as the
circuit?
Just a minute. They were acting as the filter. They were deciding what mutations were going to help it survive and which ones were not. So they were pushing it in that direction.
That's amazing.
But it's not that surprising. I mean, the surprising thing is that it wound up being a radio instead of the oscillator that they expected. Because we know we can build radios out of circuitry. We already know that. This is just going through the evolutionary process, fiddling with all the connections until it came out that way.
Yeah.
On the subject of radio, Christian radio station struck by lightning. Now I get to do a funny one, finally.
Oh, boy.
Yes.
Rochester, Minnesota, August 26th. They're asking for prayers first, monetary gifts second. Rochester's Christian radio station, KFSI, took an unlikely hit which took them off the air for nearly 2 days last week. KFSI is back on the air after lightning struck 2 of their transformers, sending an electrical surge through their broadcasting system. Station manager Paul Logan says, because they are totally listener-supported, they need their listeners to show their support now more than usual. It is a real matter of prayer. If I could ask our listening family to be in prayer about it, that's a first priority in my opinion. From there, summer months are slow anyway in ministry.
Ronald Reagan read this?
Every summer we hit a slump and support takes a dive, and then, when you have additional expenses, it's just that much more to try to handle, said Logan. They had to rewire much of the station and replace electrical fuse boxes, with a price going into many thousands of dollars. Now, what does this tell us?
God hates Christian radio?
How I just don't understand how these people can keep believing this nonsense, right? I mean, there would be. I mean, the one thing that surprises me about this story is they're not giving us a quote that says, you know, the guys at the station are claiming it's a miracle because the building didn't explode.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, but when Ben Franklin invented the lightning rod, there were Christians ministers preaching in churches that was an instrument of the devil. Because if God wanted to hit a building with lightning, by gum,
He'll do it.
He'll do it. And we should not be trying to subvert the Lord's will.
Well, maybe that's how they would look at this.
But they're not. They're saying, give us money.
Well, of course they are, because they need to rebuild their transmitter.
Right. And
but they should say it was the Lord's will that their equipment should all burn out. Right? It was the Lord's will that their equipment should all burn out. The Lord clearly does not want them to have a radio station. They should stop. You know? But no. The interpretation changes along with the whim of the person doing the interpreting. Right? In this case, it is to their benefit to interpret this as a random act of nature, or may Satan. And then plead with their listeners, oh, give us more money even than usual.
Yeah, so we can cast out the heathen Satan lightning rod from our radio station.
Okay. Mary?
Yes.
Please do the story.
Sure. How about a vicar who's in a twist over yoga?
Huh?
Oh, boy.
Where's this story from?
Also in Britain.
Uh-huh.
I
love religion stories from Britain.
Yeah, I do
They're
too.
always
They're
pretty
great.
cool.
This is from The Guardian.
Why can't we be more like
Unlimited.
them?
Adopting the lotus position may seem harmless, but be warned, it could well be the first step on a slippery slope to damnation.
Oh, good grief. Somebody in Britain has the gall to say this?
Well, they're just commenting on what this vicar believes.
Yeah, right. That's the guy. That's what I mean.
Yeah. Especially if it follows the cobra or the lion. And as you know, those are both yoga positions.
Oh, okay.
Right. For those who believe they can combine the pursuit of yoga with the practice of Christianity, it is time to roll up the yoga mat and think again. According to the Reverend Derek Smith, having banned, and we can see now how the relevancy of religion in Britain has declined because of attitudes like this.
Yeah.
Having banned classes from his church hall at St. Michael's Church in Melksham, Wiltshire, the vicar has called upon Christians who indulge in the activity to, quote, examine their consciences.
Conscience?
Yes. Yoga.
This yoga I'm doing is so evil.
I feel so bad that I want to contort my body and become a cobra.
I feel a strange sense of peace, and that's got to be bad. God doesn't want me to feel peace.
And he doesn't want me to be more liberal because that means the sex is better.
You're doing a British accent, right?
Yeah.
This is what we feel more peace. God wants me to suffer. I'm sorry, God. I shan't do any more yoga. And you go on.
Yoga, he believes, is incompatible with Christianity because of its associations with the Hindu faith. Even if followers in the West...
Oh, those evil Hindus.
Next he's going to be saying monkeys are not compatible with Christianity.
Well, of course. They're not.
Let's see if they're
not?
statues.
Even if followers in the West use yoga purely for fitness purposes...
He's going to be driving all the monkeys out of his church next?
I guess so.
I doubt if they have any monkeys in church in England.
Well...
I'm trying to do something funny here, man. Walking all over my lame attempt at comedy. Please.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Please restore. Dennis, my yoga is so sinful.
It's so sinful because...
Please.
Even if followers in the West use yoga purely for fitness purposes, spiritual leaders in the East insist it is inseparable from Hindu devotional practice, Mr. Smith said yesterday.
Yeah, but they're morons.
Yeah, well, here's what he says, quote, I would ask people who do yoga to think about whether they believe they were in breach of their faith or not. If they genuinely believe what they are doing is acceptable, and I know people that do, of course I would ask them to follow their consciences.
Okay, so I'm taking the position that yoga is sinful and evil, and we shan't have it in the church. However, if you believe that it is not sinful and not evil, why go right ahead?
Not in the church.
Oh, Mr. Smith's comments came less than a year after fellow clergyman Richard Farr of St. Mary's in Henham on the Essex-Hertfordshire border. Oh boy, I just totally butchered that.
That's all right, go on.
Hertfordshire.
Let it go.
Okay, axed yoga sessions at his church hall because he feared the classes could make participants turn to Eastern mysticism. The latest ban was immediately condemned by yoga enthusiasts who described it as ignorant.
Well, yeah, that's what it is. God, here's another thing that drives me completely crazy every time.
Yeah.
I mean, once you've bought into one of these irrational belief systems, there's nothing preventing you, there's nothing enabling you to see other irrational belief systems for what they are.
Yeah.
This guy's worried about yoga, not because any of the people from his parish that are engaging in yoga give a flying hoot about Hanuman the monkey god. Right? He's worried about it because what some other morons in India are saying.
Right.
The other morons in India insist that this is a religious practice.
Yeah.
And that bothers him, no matter how the people that are doing it in Britain think about it.
Right. And as someone who does yoga fairly regularly, I can tell you it has nothing to do with religion.
Right.
Some people may interpret it that way, but that's irrelevant.
Right. You, as a rational-minded person, are able to look at this and say, okay, fine, it's just this physical activity.
Right.
Right? And, yeah, some morons think that it's religious.
Well,
the hell with them. Who cares?
It comes out of a religious culture, and it has religion attached to it from its original culture. But so does Kung Fu.
Right.
Okay, it comes out of Chinese religion.
Right. So
it's when you bring it to America and Americanize it, there's no religion left in it.
But my point is, here's this vicar, right, who's terrified that because these other people in India think it's religious, their thoughts that it's religious are somehow going to influence the minds of his poor sheep-like parishioners.
The magic religious
which they probably are if they believe in this guy.
The magic religion.
Well, but that's the thing, right? I mean, if you can't tell the difference between fantasy and reality, when somebody else's fantasy comes along, it's threatening to you, not because, it's stupid and it might actually sucker people in, but because you can't tell the difference between fantasy and reality. You can't believe your fantasy and write off the next moron's fantasy. This is what is wonderful about being an atheist. I can write all this crap off.
Right.
Yeah.
I love that.
And it's so refreshing.
And I'm sorry, Vic, I interrupted you.
That's okay. I don't remember what I was
I did too,
say.
I'm sorry.
Please.
I wish I knew what it was I was talking about, but I don't, so I'll have to go on.
Okay.
Is that the end of the story about the moronic vicar?
Basically, yeah. There was just another clergyman who says this is totally bogus. He said, oh no, okay, never mind. No, this was a woman who said she's of the British Wheel of Yoga, the governing body recognized by Sport England, said, quote, about yoga, quote, it's not a religion, and it doesn't push any version of one. I don't think it will affect his flock. He should have a bit more of an open mind, unquote.
You should have a mind. Then you can open it.
Yeah, how about one mind?
Right? Yeah,
I know.
Victor!
Yes.
Please, make with the news.
Make with the news. Well, this is the serious stuff now because I ran out of...
Are we going into backpedophilia?
There's one backpedophilia. I think you have the same story. I think we have two of them.
Well, then, how about let me go first. Let me get a couple of things out of the way, and then we'll get into that. How are we doing on time, Mr. Producer Man?
We are going to end in 40 minutes.
40 minutes? Okay.
Because we had that bit cut off at the beginning.
Right. Okay. So we got plenty of time.
If you want.
No, that's fine. Okay. We reported last week that Florida's new child welfare chief, who was appointed by George Bush's brother, governor of Florida, it was discovered that he was listed as one of the two co-authors of a controversial 1989 essay that condoned spanking, even if it produces bruises or welts. Mm-hmm. And then we did a story about he came out and said, oh, no, I was in that organization, but they just put my name in that story. I don't agree with all the stuff in there, blah-de-blah-de-blah. Well, now it turns out that he wrote another article for a magazine that encouraged the use of manly discipline and quoted from the Bible the phrase, smite him with the rod. Now, if you've been listening to our show for a while, you heard the episode where we have a book about Christian child rearing.
Shepherding a child's heart.
Shepherding a child's heart. It was all about...
By beating his ass.
Yeah, all about beating up little kids and how to keep it from the police, and we deconstructed the hell out of that book. This is that kind of crap.
They talked about how to keep it from the police?
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
I didn't know that.
Well, many people in your community won't understand, so the important thing is to make sure nobody else finds out.
Ew.
Yeah, but it almost literally said that.
Oh, boy.
Okay, so this news article, which bears Jerry Rieger's name alone, appeared in the July to August 1988 issue, so it's a year earlier than the other one, of Pastoral Renewal, a religious magazine that is no longer published. The article's title is The Not-So-Disposable Family. There's that claim that if you're not a Christian, you're against families again. Mm-hmm. The 1989 essay raised a firestorm of controversy last week after Rieger was named by Governor Jeb Bush to head the Department of Children and Families. Rieger denied having written the essay, The Christian Worldview of the Family, published by an evangelical Christian group, and said his name was on it only because he co-chaired a committee that put the essay together. Rieger, a former Oklahoma cabinet secretary, acknowledged Thursday that he did write the 1988 article, which espouses some views similar to the ones in the World View essay. Mm-hmm. You think that's creepy? And I was hoping against hope last week, and here my inherent optimism jumped up and bit me in the ass, because I was hoping that it was true, that this guy had simply been involved in this organization, and now that he was in politics, he was desperately trying to distance himself from those crazy people. No, in fact, he's just a liar. He's another stinking Christian liar who writes that kind of crap and then pretends he didn't say it or doesn't mean it when the spotlight gets turned on him.
It's not politically expedient.
Yeah.
But here's the response from Jeb Bush. Governor Jeb Bush defended his choice to lead Florida's beleaguered child welfare agency after the article surfaced.
Really?
Bush told reporters Friday that he questioned whether Jerry Rieger was being pilloried because of his conservative religious views. And he condemned a, quote, soft bigotry that is emerging against people of faith.
Soft bigotry.
No, excuse me, Mr. Bush, I have a hardline objection to religious idiocy. Yeah. The reason why, but you can believe whatever you want, but if what you believe includes that it's a good idea to beat your kids until they got welts and bruises, then you should not be in charge of the child welfare agency. You know? Very simple.
And how can he say that that's soft bigotry? What is he talking about?
He's thinking that it doesn't matter what Rieger's views were. That Rieger is being attacked because he's a Christian. No, because he's a conservative Christian, he has these views which are entirely inappropriate for that job.
Absolutely.
Right. And if you're going to take him at his word that he believes what he says, then he has to act upon those particular beliefs.
It's the same kind of crap, right? I mean, we talked on another show about, this view that has grown from, the old story about it's okay for Rastafarians to have marijuana because it's part of their religious practices, right? I think that's not even true, actually, but it's a belief that a lot of people have. They think that the law says, as long as you're religious, anything you do is okay. Anything you do that's part of your religion is okay. And what Bush of Florida seems to be saying is, yeah, he believes stuff because of his religion, but it's because of his religion. So if you attack what he believes, you're attacking him because of his religion, and that's wrong and bad.
Yeah. So
quote,
what that means?
Let me read you his actual quote.
Okay.
This is the younger Bush. It really doesn't matter if Jerry has a deep and abiding faith, and it certainly doesn't disqualify him for public service, Bush said as Rieger stood nearby. I think there's bigotry here, and it troubles me. It's not about the fact. He's not being attacked because he has faith. He's being attacked because of what he has faith in.
Right.
And that is different.
Right.
And that's got to count. We've got to care.
What this means, though, is if Rieger's in control of child welfare, that means that child abuse cases which involve beatings will go uninvestigated because they were just disciplining those children.
This is like making Timothy Leary the drug czar. That is exactly what this is like. Timothy Leary has, his own flaky New Age reasons for believing the drug. Well, he's dead now, but he did have his own flaky New Age reasons for believing that drugs were a fine, wonderful thing, right? If the Bush in the White House had appointed Timothy Leary our drug czar, and people said, doesn't Timothy Leary think that taking drugs is this fine, wonderful thing that everybody ought to be doing? And that Bush came out and said, I think this is religious bigotry. It would make exactly as little sense.
Yeah. It's true. Because
the job requires a certain attitude about certain kinds of behaviors.
Right.
That's the job.
Right.
And if you don't have that attitude, you shouldn't have that job, period.
And in this case, the man is not being condemned for his religious beliefs. He's being condemned for his interpretations of the way that you treat children. And if he's doing that, he doesn't need to be responsible for this agency.
It's not just him. right? It's not like this one lone guy has his own personal interpretation. There's a whole flock of those nitwits out there with the same interpretation. I'm very happy to agree, yes, it's because of his religious views, right? It's not just because of his personal interpretation. That whole community of people who believe that it's a good thing to haul off and smack your kids with sticks, that whole group of people are hideously reprehensible, and they all deserve this kind of criticism. But it's a movement. It's not just him.
Yeah, but I don't know if I would take it... Well, I guess what I'm thinking is there are plenty of Christians who don't believe that. And so to say that there's this movement among Christians going on that says that is okay, I think I understand your point.
It's a segment of them.
Right, okay. But
I will go further. But I will go further and say the Bible does, in fact, say these things.
Right.
About smacking kids with sticks.
It does.
So anybody who's a Christian, as far as I'm concerned, is glorifying this book that says it's a fine thing to hit kids with sticks. And I'll say that about any Christian, even if they're going to pretend that somehow, because it's in the Old Testament, that, their God shouldn't be held responsible for ever having said that about the way you ought to behave towards your kids.
Right. But when you say
they're keeping that book in circulation. They're glorifying that book that says those things.
But when you say that there's a movement going on of people that says, hey, it's okay to smack their kids around, I don't know that there's a group of Christians that gets together and says, hey, let's start a movement where we say, let's smack our kids around.
No, it's a part of it's part of their whole package of insane fundamentalist rantings.
Can I ask a quick related question?
Please.
From the chat room? Do we know anything new about those two brothers who beat up the little kid?
No, I don't. Anybody hear anybody?
There's not a word that I could find about it since it happened.
The initial story.
So there's
they were arrested.
They were arrested, which means it could be months from now before we hear anything about a trial or anything like that.
They are probably still being held.
I would imagine either they're held or they're on bail.
Yeah.
But that court case will take a while because it's about a year from arrest to trial, so it could be a little bit longer.
Okay. Let me do one more funny story, and then we'll get on to the pedophilia news. The Great Christian Snail Robbery.
Oh, no. Talk about wacky beliefs.
I kid you not. Pismo Beach, California. Church members who visited town this week could face a $40,000 to $50,000 fine for allegedly taking at least 14,000 marine snails and lying to the police about it.
14,000.
14,000 snails. The Great Pismo Beach snail caper began around 3:40 p.m. Monday when a caller told the police that a large group of people was harvesting snails by gallon buckets on the beach at the end of Cayuma Avenue. A person with a valid fishing license can legally take 35 snails, officials said. When the police arrived, Officer Brian Martin explained Wednesday 4 members of Happy Times Church from Los Angeles said they had put the snails back in the water. The gallon buckets were empty. But the police kept searching and found 200 pounds of black turban snails in an ice chest, he said.
200 pounds?
Yes.
That's a lot of them.
That's a lot of snails.
That's a little more than 35.
Yes, it is.
Oh,
well,
yeah.
I mean, if we're like 500,000 people on the beach, maybe. Quote,
no.
We had a discussion with them about lying, Officer Martin said about the church members who reportedly came to town that morning for a day at the beach and a barbecue. Snail barbecue, apparently.
Escargot feast.
A church official hung up when a Tribune reporter called Wednesday. An internet search could not find a website for Happy Times Church.
Happy Times.
Too poor of a website when you're out there collecting snails off the damn beach.
Fish and Game Warden Todd Tognazzini, who responded when Pismo authorities called Monday, said it was rare to have anyone trying to take that many shellfish. It's not unusual to have 1,000 or 1,500, but this huge of a quantity is very unusual, he said. He praised the Pismo police officers' handling of the case.
Yeah.
Quote,
now, weren't these snails protected species?
They
or
were
is it
endangered.
just regulated by...
It's not. They are not a protected species, but there are hunting limits.
Limits, right.
For all animals.
Well, what happened to them? Are they okay? Did they dump them back in the ocean?
Well, I don't know how many of those snails are still alive.
Yeah.
200 pounds of them in an ice chest.
Oh, boy.
Probably some survived.
Yeah.
Quote, If people did this all the time, we wouldn't have too much wildlife left on our shores.
In fact, there's a paleontology theory that the large animals in North America all died off the exact same time that humans made it over here. They call it the kill theory.
Yeah.
And that's that we basically ate them all.
Yeah. Okay, one last grim story.
I wonder what they were going to do with them.
They were going to eat them.
Well, they said barbecue, so.
They were going to eat them.
Yeah.
But these are tiny little snails.
Oh, are they?
They're small.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
But that means it was enormous to get 200 pounds of them. That was a whole bunch of them.
Well, maybe because they were so small, they thought they needed a lot.
Yeah.
Here's another story from California, from Oakland. An Orion Township mother who claimed her 7-year-old daughter was possessed by demons and allegedly locked her in a closet overnight has lost temporary custody of her 3 daughters. The mother, 43, is also charged with second-degree child abuse, a 4-year felony, in connection with the July 29 incident in her home.
That's only 4 years? Second-degree felony child abuse is only 4 years in prison?
Apparently so.
That's terrible.
But
We put
she
people in...
lost her temporary custody. She had temporary custody to begin with.
Well, sorry,
that's a good point.
can I just break in here?
Yeah.
There's another article in The Economist that Tim and I were just reading about this week where that right now there are people being sentenced to mandatory incarceration, for drugs.
Right.
And, you can get 15 years for having LSD, and
You get a
just
lot of
like
time
that.
for drugs.
And you get 4 years for second-degree child abuse? This is just...
That's insane.
Okay, sorry. Had to interrupt there.
Well, this is what comes of not having Timothy Leary as our drug czar, and of having a fundamentalist nitwit as our child protection guy.
Yeah.
Man.
I have a lot of concerns about what she had subjected her child to, Assistant Prosecutor Cynthia Pike said on Monday. This is not the first time the girl has been confined. The girl said she was locked in a bedroom for 2 weeks. The girl was actually relieved when deputies arrived. They gave her a bottle of water and an apple while she was in the closet. There were no toilet facilities there.
Oh.
The mother called sheriff's... This is the craziness now. Ready? Hold on to your hat.
Oh, boy.
The mother called sheriff's deputies July 29 and told them that she no longer wanted custody of the daughter. The mother said she had had trouble with her youngest daughter for several years. The mother told deputies to frisk her daughter when they arrived because she had a psychic connection to the girl and believed that the girl had a knife tied to her leg and she didn't want anyone to get hurt. No knife was found on the girl, so much for her psychic connection. The mother allegedly contacted the girl's paternal grandfather 2 days before the incident at 3:15 a.m. and said the girl was snorting and had red glowing eyes and that mother had locked her in a bedroom to be safe, according to court documents.
Sniffles and redness of eye from the crying.
Yeah.
The girl's 11-year-old sister told a sheriff's detective that she, an older sister, and their mother stayed up until 6 a.m. on July 29, praying over the girl to rid her of her demons. The mother allegedly contacted a priest for advice on how to rid the girl of her demons.
Could have gotten her an exorcism kit.
And then the mother put vegetable oil on the doors of the house in the shape of a cross, but it did not get rid of the demons as hoped, court records said. Now, I want to know if that's the advice that she got from the priest.
Oh, no.
The mother allegedly told a family independence agency worker, July 30, that the daughter acts bizarrely around Bibles and described the demon in her daughter as a 22-year-old midget named Hannah.
Oh.
The only demon in this girl's life is her own mother.
Yeah.
It's a very bizarre situation, and as the facts become uncovered, it becomes more and more startling, said attorney Daniel Bagdad, who is the court-appointed guardian for the 3 children. My conversations with the girls indicate that there was something very strange afoot. Attorney Diana Barr, who represents the mother in probate court, said her client felt she and her daughters were at risk of physical and spiritual danger. Quote, "She acted accordingly in a world where good and evil have a palpable effect. Believing her actions to be correct, she relied on the sheriff's department to assist her. They did, and now she faces prosecution. On any given day, through faith, people pray to their God for intervention. This God cannot be seen, heard, or touched. systems of belief dictate in interaction with a world of spirits, some good, some bad. To judge the mother for acting as she did may be disingenuous.
Man.
Oh, boy. That attitude completely sums up why we have to stop having this blanket respect for religiosity in this country. Right? Because there it is again. Because if you do it for religious reasons, anything you do is okay. That's the attitude. Doesn't matter if you're hurting people, right? Doesn't matter if it makes you completely unsuited for the political post you've been assigned to.
Right. And it doesn't matter if your church has been hiding the fact that you might be a murderer from the police so that you don't get investigated.
We'll get to that in a second. A representative from the state disagreed. He said, regardless of your belief system, it's still abuse to lock your kid in a closet. The children, ages 15, 11, and the other girl have been placed in the care of the Family Independence Agency. The mother is free on bond.
By the way, you should mention, for people listening live, we're about to go off the air. Live.
Go ahead.
But the archive will continue playing for the next 20 minutes to make up for the 20 minutes we lost.
Right. We lost the first 20 minutes of the show because of technical problems. So we're good. But the Atheist Network is going to shut down our audio stream when they need to go to their next show. But you can hear the rest of our show if you download it from our site.
Yes.
Right. And we will send Reggie at Atheist Network the complete audio stream so he can slot that in our time slot during the regular rotation.
Yay.
Okay. So, are we ready for the news from the world of priests molesting children?
Yeah. We've been going through this for over a year now.
Yeah. Well, it's been actually kind of quiet for a while, but I think people are finally turning their attention back to it.
Yeah. Well, I've said from all this that there's no way that any religious person could ever look at me and say, well, you're an atheist, you must not have any morals. Right. These guys, when you've got example after example, an endless supply of examples of these people who are the tops of their church doing things that I wouldn't think of doing, don't give me any crap about my non-belief in God making me less moral than you, because I don't want to hear it.
They have no clue where morality comes from. That's
exactly.
their problem. They've been these people who say that have been indoctrinated into the belief that rules of behavior get dictated by a divine lawgiver, and whatever that divine lawgiver said, that is the way you should behave. And the problem there is, two problems. A, completely ignores the actual, tangible, practical effects of acting certain ways. Right?
Right.
That is not going to be prone to to supporting behaviors that are actually helpful.
Yeah.
And B, every single one of these religions that believes in a divine lawgiver has stories about their divine lawgiver granting special permission in certain cases for people to violate those rules. And so, what do you got? Well, you got a big religious organization that dictates what's right and wrong, and they can change what they say is right and wrong whenever it suits them. Right? What were we talking about earlier, where in one case, in one of our earlier stories, the religious view in one case was that it was bad, and in another case it was good when they were doing it. I forget what the story was about.
Hell.
Earlier at today's show.
Yeah.
Stories
was it mine? I thought it was one that you did.
Maybe. Oh, let me see.
Oh, let's see.
While we're looking, why don't you start with the first pedophilia story there, Vic?
Oh,
okay. I will do, because you got to back follow up to this one, so I'll do this one. The nuns rape orphans.
I don't actually have a follow-up. I just also had that story.
Okay, well, there is. This is the one where the Catholic Church.
Oh, yeah, that's right. That's right. Australia. Go ahead.
Yeah, all right. Lizzie Walsh, as she was known as a child at the orphanage in Brisbane, has told the Bulletin magazine that she was subjected to violence for 7 years. During her time, Ms. Walsh claims that she was raped by a nun with a flag stick. Yuck. To get the devil out, of course. And
it's
while
gotta be in there somewhere.
I'm having thoughts of that movie, The Exorcist. While other nuns turned a blind eye to her being raped by two different priests.
I am so sorry.
No, after that, she got raped by 2 different priests.
Oh, okay.
Ms. Walsh also recalls being forced to eat a nun's feces.
Can you guys find the devil in this girl?
I'm sorry, sister. We looked.
Well, you know why she did that?
We probed deeply and we couldn't find anything.
They probably did that because they didn't want it to be the
comment for the day.
priest who first penetrated her. They wanted it to be some object.
Ew.
I know. I'm just saying that's probably
who knows
what they
their
were doing.
rationale was, but no, you don't.
If you think that's the case, you don't understand men.
With a flagpole. Yeah.
The deflowering of virgins. If you're in a position of authority where you could do that and get away with it,
but not if you're
that's the kind of behavior that a sick and twisted pedophile in a position of authority would.
Maybe, but see, priests want to keep women pure. I don't know, whatever.
If they want to keep the women pure, they know exactly what to do. Okay, keep your frickin' hands off.
Yeah.
They don't want to keep them pure; they want to keep them subjected.
Yeah, that's true.
And the bulletin said that an out-of-court settlement was reached with some victims to compensate up to $75,000 being paid out, depending on the level of physical and sexual abuse. Mm-hmm. They also received a written apology. A regional superior, as a regional superior, she said, "Wait a minute, where did I miss this?" A regional superior said she had met a number of claimants. We have just said to them that we are sorry, and they've gotten an unhappy memory of the past. We're sorry that you have an unhappy memory of the past. We're sorry that someone rammed a flagpole in a place they shouldn't be running a flagpole.
I told her to lay back and enjoy it.
Okay, Clayton.
Most of the people involved in the care of the children were no longer alive. Ms. Walsh, whose allegations were corroborated in statements of claims by other victims, told the bulletin the compensation money meant jack. She wasn't getting paid off. And further, the Catholic Church, since this article came out, has claimed that they want the newspaper held in contempt of court.
No, different case.
Is it?
Different. It's not Australia.
Okay, well, regardless.
Yeah. No, I'll get to that one.
Okay.
I got that story. Let me do one. Church holds child partly at fault. Hawaii. An alleged victim of sexual abuse by a priest bears some responsibility in the case, according to court documents filed by the Hawaii Catholic Diocese. Attorneys responded Monday to a July 31 lawsuit filed by Alexander W. Winchester. Winchester, 51, claims he was sexually molested in 1961 by a priest who died 30 years ago. The affirmative defense filed by the church's attorney, William Bordner, stated that, quote, if plaintiff received any of the injuries or suffered any of the damages alleged in the verified complaint, said injuries or damages were proximately caused by plaintiff's negligence and assumption of risk. Winchester's attorney, Philip R. Brown, said the language in effect holds that his client, quote, as an 11-year-old boy attending Sunday school, assumed the risk of being sexually assaulted and molested by a priest charged with the spiritual development of a child, unquote. He issued a news release yesterday to call attention to the church attorney's totally insensitive filing.
And this is not even the first one. That's a common theme.
Oh, yeah, I've done that before.
Blame the frickin' children.
Yep.
The children and their parents are responsible for priests molesting them.
What is astounding is that they've done it again, right? Because they've done this before. They've filed those kinds of things before.
And it got news coverage, and everybody was,
and they're doing it again.
Well,
no different than blaming a woman.
Go ahead.
Don't blame a Muslim woman for being raped.
Exactly.
Yep.
Yeah.
Same damn thing.
Well, the other thing, too, is that, and I know we've talked about this before on previous back pedophilia stories, but I just still say that you cannot suppress somebody's sexual drive or sexual pleasure, like with nuns and priests, and not expect it to manifest itself in other ways. Apparently, I read an article in, I think it was Newsweek, where this guy who treats pedophilia priests, I don't know about nuns, but definitely pedophilia priests, he said that they think that from, studying these priests, that it's not because their sexuality's been repressed that this is happening, but they think it's for other reasons. The same other reasons why we can't seem to explain why people become pedophilias to begin with. Pedophiles. Yeah, thank you. Sorry. Yeah, so, but I still say that the church encourages this culture of suppression of any thought in, a nun never having sex, or a priest never having sex.
I can imagine
and being okay with that.
I can imagine it if you have the participants who are voluntarily taking the vows of celibacy, who actually believe in the vows of celibacy and practice it. I don't think that some of these actually believe completely in celibacy. They just do. It's a position of power. They want it, and it provides them easy access to.
I personally tend toward the interpretation that this is simply people who are culturally not supposed to get married and don't have that outlet. They're put in a position of authority, and they're put in a position of authority over children in a culture where there is and that's just a recipe for making this happen. If that's the only people you're going to have, if that's the only people you're going to be able to get away with having sex with without destroying your career, then those are the people you're going to have sex with.
Yeah.
All right? There's many factors going on here.
Yep.
Now, the fact that so many of them are so many of the male priests are attracted to young boys, I think, is probably the result of people who are homosexual living in a culture where they're told that that's wrong. And so they go into this hoping that, I'll go into that lifestyle and then I'll never actually act on my tendency. But then they're in exactly the same position, right? Yeah. I have this position of power and I have private contact with children, and nobody would believe this of me. And if I do get caught, then the church is going to stand behind me to help cover it up. Woohoo! Okay. Right? How else would you expect them to react?
Yeah.
I'm a game designer, right? The rules of the game determine how you play. It's not just a simple matter of, stating what the winning conditions are. The rules of the game will tell you what strategies to pursue to get what you want.
Yeah.
All right. So.
Sickening.
When do we find the church with the little dungeon full of sex slaves?
Oh boy. Well, we almost found it already. There was that story about the group in Florida that were actually organizing a boy prostitution ring for visiting seminarians from Italy.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
We had that story.
Oh, that's right. I did hear that.
Yeah.
Go quick, do another one, Vic. Let's see if we can get through these things, because we're coming down to our last few minutes.
The church is accused of hindering in a murder case.
Oh, yeah.
Chris, Melbourne pedophile potentially implicated in the murder of a 12-year-old boy, escaped investigation because the Catholic Church failed to report his behavior. Police said the pedophile, a church worker who preyed on boys at the northern suburbs parish in the 1960s, would have been investigated for murder if priests and church officials had not withheld what they knew about him. The abuser, Robert Charles Blunden, known as Bert Blunden, has been identified as a possible suspect in the unsolved 1964 murder of Catholic schoolboy Dominic Ganino.
Yep.
Blunden was living in the Faulkner North Presbyterian at the time of the murder and is known to have been abusing children and young men. Dominic Ganinos attended the local church, St. Matthew's. Dominic disappeared on October 11th of 1964. After leaving his Sydney Road home back to take his dog for a walk, his body was found 15 days later in a swampy land near the Broadmeadows Ford factory. Police determined that he had been asphyxiated and assaulted, and they believed it to be the hallmark of a homosexual killing.
No. All right.
Yeah.
Do you want to do all the rest of it?
No, that's
so how did the church cover it up again?
The church
same way they covered all the rest of it up.
Yeah, the church knew about the death of the little boy, and if they knew, it was the church went. Back then, police would have loved to have known all there was about Blunden was up to, but those days the church did not report this to the police, and they just moved people around and hide them.
No.
Yep,
and
exactly.
once you found out about it,
here's now
a murderer they're shuffling around.
And by the time the police found out about this, he was 79. He died. He did some time in prison, but he died at the age of 81 in 1998.
Okay, let me do just a quick mentions of the remaining two stories as we wind up the show here. Priest indicted for child rape arrested in New Hampshire. A Roman Catholic priest was indicted Tuesday for the alleged sexual assault of a Waltham boy in the 1980s. Reverend Robert V. Gale, 61, was arrested in New Hampshire after a Middlesex County grand jury returned indictments on 4 counts of child rape. Also, Diocese wants Kentucky newspaper held in contempt. The Roman Catholic Diocese of Lexington wants the Courier-Journal of Kentucky to be held in contempt of court for publishing parts of a lawsuit that the diocese wants kept sealed. The diocese has asked the Kentucky Supreme Court to hold the Louisville newspaper in contempt and order it not to publish anything further about the sealed portions of the lawsuit until the issue is resolved in court. So, yes, got to keep all those details secret so people don't find out what the hell we're up to. Thanks for listening to the show, and thank you very much for putting up with our technical problems at the beginning. If you hear this show not live, then we'll have edited all that stuff off, and we will be back next week.